Good good afternoon. Welcome back. Good morning, Corey. Yep, big sell off today. Um this is generally kind of, when sell-offs are more likely to happen when the market enters selling operations, as, kind of we're talking about a lot this morning. Um you know, Another thing we talked about too is kind of like the data, which I haven't really gone back over too much, but yeah, it's kind of like we talked about, regardless how data comes out, when in a selling operation, the market's more likely to shake it off. They use the data for an early morning bounce based off of support just to ram the markets back down in the current selling operation. One second, I'm kind of reorganizing some stuff on my chart. Just got back from the doctor. Alrighty, this guy should be here. And by the looks of it, we are coming into our secondary sell target. I'm not sure if you remember, but for the 16 of you guys back on here, I don't know if you guys are with us this morning, but you'll remember that this morning pre-market we hit sell target 1 at about 54651. We pretty much just came into the sell target 2 down here. Now this is obviously what we discussed taking place with market sell signal continuation to the downside. We should expect sell target 1, sell target 2 kind of thing, as long as markets don't re-enter a buy signal, which they haven't, obviously. So, everything that's taking place in the market currently, there's reasons for it if you ask me personally. But anyways, so we're pretty much achieving those downside sell targets that we had discussed just yesterday. So to me, it's all still fairly pretty normal movement in the market. It is a dump day. It is a big selling day, obviously. Do you always know that they're going to dump it out this big? Not necessarily. But, there's only one of a couple ways things can go, and that's generally up or down, right? So anyways, big move down there today. Looks like we're coming maybe into some daily support stuff on the SPY, maybe even QQQ a bit. Obviously, if you guys go look at the news, which we'll do in just a little bit, I'm going to assume that most of the headlines are probably bearish. Again, probably like the end of the world is happening. So again, we'll get into all of this, right? So also, side note, as the market comes into 54040, generally speaking, it's an area where you'd kind of expect like some small bottom bouncing to occur, whether smaller or bigger. Again, we're still in a selling operation, but as far as like small value counter trend areas, again, towards that 161 area, it's kind of a place to watch. And you can see it's already started happening, right? We already kind of bounced in that area. We didn't tag the level exactly, right? But you can already see some kind of bouncing occurring down in this area. So if we kind of look at where this target area is at, it's right here, right? So I increased that too big, sorry. So again, that 161 downside destination is like down to here. Generally, as you get close to sell targets, people cover shorts. They cause these little pops. So that's all we're getting at. The market's still in a selling operation. We discussed this way early this morning. And probably the most important part of today's narrative was the open high low close chart. If you guys remember, we were pretty much talked about watching the market on the VIX continue the long over under the 50 SMA. And also we mentioned this, right? So this is the main takeaway, right? So this is the main takeaway for me and a lot of the long move today. This chart's a little busy. You guys probably can't see it all that well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. Okay. So right here, this box, right? That box that I just put on the chart, that's when the long signal started on the VIX. That's when the buying operation on the VIX started. This morning was the first back test of our uptrend motion. So you can see how you can even see how they kind of made a flag sort of scenario on the VIX, and we use the 50 SMA as support trend, right? So ultimately, today's big sell-off for me was the long confirmation from the VIX. So the VIX was confirming it still wanted an uptrend. Therefore, the downtrend remains on the market. So that's why earlier today we had specifically mentioned you should be focusing on the VIX as kind of the trigger for a lot of this stuff. And that's because it was at an algorithm level. So to me, that was kind of the factor we wanted to watch today, specifically as it related to the VIX, and so on and so forth. But anyways, you guys get the point. So the VIX is still in a buying operation. The market is still in a selling operation. Nothing has changed, okay? The only thing we've done is sell down in the selling operation to some swing sell targets, essentially. All right. So this is starting to result in the markets getting down towards, again, support areas, if you may, counter support areas. Let me get into this one over here. Yeah, that's good. Let's see. Now, also, side note too, the sell targets, as far as the swing fib stuff that we were talking about, these have been on the chart since pretty much yesterday. So we're going to highlight it. So we'll highlight here to here, this area, this box that I just drew. It's a big box, but in the big box, these X's are the specific price levels we were looking at on the downside for the markets to continue swinging down, right? And these price targets were added yesterday to at least the live stream, so you guys could see it when the market was trading, I don't know, somewhere around like there, right? So these would be 1, 2, right? Doesn't always work that clean though, so again, market kind of played nice. Okay, so I'm gonna flip here. It looks like, one second. That's not, yep. All right, so obviously you guys would have to go back and you'd have to look at yesterday's stream. I don't, I'm sure some of you guys remember that are watching, but again, yesterday we said we have targets on the NASDAQ down to as low as $448 and like 50 cents, 70 cents for now. So again, that pretty much completed. You're just gonna, I know the stream was 5 hours long, but it's there. We did mention just yesterday that the SPY has room down to prices of arguably $553 and like 84 cents. Now that might have changed by like $1 or $2 overnight, because the levels that we use for forecasting sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, the levels we use for forecasting they change on a day-to-day basis and a week-to-week basis and minute-to-minute basis, just depending on the forecast, right? So if we're looking at levels off of weekly charts, those change, but not as fast. They're more likely to be susceptible to price changes week over week. Daily market levels and forecasts are more likely to change on a day-to-day basis because they're daily levels, so each day's progression of the market can change the pricing structure a little bit. So that being said, right now, weekly downsided destinations for the SPY are down to as low as $533.84. Okay. There's something else I gotta double check. I wonder if we're running into some lower distribution stuff on the previous sell op. So, gotta check that out. So we took that guy out. This is going to be another key. Okay, yeah, so we should pretty much just expect the market's going to fall all the way down to $539.58. Honestly, it's kind of the next, as far as like continuation goes, that makes kind of perfect sense to me. So I have zero surprise to see the markets down even by the end of the day, hitting prices of $539.58 at this point. If it doesn't happen, I don't really care. Again, because that getting down to $539.45, that triggerable event takes place when you clear the price of 550. So when we clear the price of 550, 539.58 becomes a targetable offense, and the downside destination of that is it's about a $10.60 decrease in the market, and we've already decreased $9.10. So we've done about 95% of that drop as it relates to some of these macro environment forecasts that we would kind of look. Now, we didn't actually talk about this one yesterday on stream. That's okay. We'll probably discuss it at some point in the future. It looks like maybe my stream is doing something goofy. I don't know. But anyways, so even seeing the market down to $539.58, definitely in the expectations. Again, around the price of $539.60, that a lot of times can be used as a counter long location. So basically, I wouldn't recommend you should be bearish at the price of $539.60 today when it gets there. I'm sure that as the prices decrease and get towards that price point, if there's an individual in the market that tries to start shorting in that location, they would most likely get pushed out of their short. Little profit to be made down there, especially after the day's drop so far. They'd probably be a little late to the party down there, right? So, anyways, yeah. So, again, arguably looking at, a counter long down at about 539.38 for the market. Sometimes it plays better than others, but again, it's kind of a common reoccurrence that we see. But anyways, so we'll get to that probably later. All right. There's some things that I could see, maybe stopping us from. Hold on, let me just double check. Yeah, let me see. The daily's right there. But wait, what did I just say? 530. Oh, shit. Really? That's kind of interesting. Wait up. What is... Something just doesn't... Yeah, okay. What did I say that was? 539.68? So that's that. Well, that would be that guy. You'd really have to be the low on this guy. That's debatable. I wonder how they're going to run it. Interesting. Yeah, we actually have to increase that zone by just a hair and a smidge. So realistically, it would be like that. So there's as we come down to this daily, the word daily, there's daily support there. And when I say daily support, right, these are levels that most people aren't watching, most people aren't paying attention to. These are areas where I'm kind of expecting maybe there to be some undervalued kind of support, right? And they're kind of what ifs, right? Because right now we're in a selling operation. The market is going down, right? So as we go down, we're seeking out liquidity zones to go and attack, right? And eventually one of the liquidity zones and kind of areas we go down and hit is going to have enough support to kind of stop the sell, at least momentarily, potentially bigger. I'm always a big fan of weekly areas. I'm a fan of daily areas too. Sometimes they perform a little better than others. Again, it's the market. But as we sell down into the daily, we are also selling down into the macro 30. So you kind of have like daily and you got some 30-minute downside offense targets there still, along with reasonable expectations of support there. Obviously, I could go on and on about rules and this and that. I like to just try to make things as simple and direct as I can by trying my best to say markets will go here. Look for support. I won't always be right. Supports will sometimes work better than others. Sometimes they don't work hardly much. but we're never picking areas that don't have value. We're always looking at areas that have value. Sometimes the value isn't as good as they may be other times, okay? Yeah. So, side note, we just basically, not quite, I mean, pretty much, we pretty much hit our secondary Fibonacci swing target as defined by that 161 price at 540.40. I'm not really, I mean, maybe there's some hesitation there, but if we're getting really specific, I would almost imagine that they're going to break that and then run down to the daily, maybe flirt above or slightly below the daily down to the 30. Then we're going to kind of fizzle out on this run to the downside, and then arguably start seeing some bottom bouncing a bit. Now, if the daily level was even supposed to remotely hold a good support, we would most likely see the markets try to hold bottoms for the remainder of the day and then transition to a green candle tomorrow. That's as long as it holds. So when we're looking at daily supports, we also want the timing to be in respect to what we're doing. So when we look at daily supports, generally it's something that we follow for the remainder of the day and into the next day. And if the daily level has the value that we're looking for, generally the market would try to print a green daily candle to the next day if it's good, right? So as we come down and we get into the daily and so on and so forth, right, we have to remember we're in a selling operation. So the market is supposed to be going down, right? We are basically looking at random support, right? Thinking that there's enough value to maybe hold the market for an intraday long. And if it's better than just an intraday long, then we may expect to see that by tomorrow, the market might try to juice up pre-market and throw a green print on the chart. Hence, daily, from one day to the next, daily support, right? So, yeah, so basically we're in a sell signal. The best thing you can do is just remain bearish, obviously, until we get a buy signal, which we haven't gotten, as, again, we discussed way earlier this morning. Yeah, so we'll see here. Again, we haven't hit the daily level yet. We still got some room down to it. I'm going to be double checking a couple other things here. The QQQ has been cooked. We're also coming into the QQQ weekly level here. So not only are we going to get an S&P 500 daily, but we're going to play around with a QQQ weekly as well. So right in this area, so we should expect QQQ is going to fall down here about another 50 cents or so to 448.36. Okay. We're really close. I mean, you're basically grasping at peanuts right now. But yeah, we do arguably have some intraday support attempt area in the 44836. Do with it what you may. This is a falling knife. Yes, yes, yes. Blah, blah, blah. I know. I gotta say, this isn't the greatest looking setup into some of these areas, but we'll see what the market has to offer. Now, the reason I'm kind of like, okay, we're coming into some areas because again, we just ripped the market down like crazy over the past couple days, and so we've sold it down to selling destinations. Like these are good sell targets to the downside. And I generally only look for more downside once these levels have been kind of breached, right? So again, just to let you guys know, we finally hit the Bitcoin sell target. As you guys remember, we've been talking about the Bitcoin sell target being down to like 54,500. It may have updated a little bit, which I'm checking right now. Yep, so the Bitcoin target actually updated a little bit while I was gone to 54,438. So Bitcoin has hit its sell target. This is something we've kind of been preaching and talking about for probably a couple weeks now, all over Twitter. It was actually kind of fun. I was basically like asking people, please don't sell Bitcoin to 54,000. You should not be selling it. I don't understand why people are selling it there. So it was kind of a fun way of bringing it to the market. So we've hit that sell target. Right now it's Thursday. So this is a weekly level, right? So we were using a weekly downside potential support area as a sell target. Now, since there's still a lot of time left on the week, we're not really looking for support maybe in the moment. You got to give it some time, right? So if this were even going to support here, you would still have to wait for the new weekly candle to start generating, and there's quite a bit of time left on the current weekly candle, right? So basically, if we go look at a weekly chart, you're going to see that we have sold down. The only way we really look to flip this market green is minimum you'd have to wait till the next week candle prints anyway. So there's really no point of even trying to like, oh, it's going to bottom right here. I kind of thought maybe it would get picked up, and then I'm like, oh, wait, we still got too much time left on the week, right? And when I say get picked up, it means just at least for the moment, right? Now, we've been talking for a while. You're getting pretty close to where Bitcoin can kind of start a cliff dive. And what I mean by that is you're finally about to give up this bottom, this bottom, this bottom. And also, what do you have? You have the 50 SMA here. So you have the long-term weekly uptrend level arguably about to get flipped down. So now you're going to start at least momentum down on the weekly scale as we start to get through that level. So that would be the weekly scale kind of getting a little bearish there. Or wait, today's Friday. Sorry. Yeah, I said Thursday. I don't know. All right. So my bad, yo. So anyways, it's Friday. So yeah, that being said, Bitcoin's hit its sell target in the midterm. Not really making too many new projections for the moment, but I'll get there probably sooner than later. All right, the SPY has now completed the 1618 of the swing target, and now we're, again, you can watch this on a micro scale if you want, just to see how it performs. So again, you can see this is that 161 level right there. So this would be the true live tag of the 161, Alt V, and then why does that look? Something ain't right there. And this guy right here is the daily, so that would be the next in line. Just double check. Wait a minute. Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot that we're looking at, but you know. So right now you're basically getting, you know, what looks like some small little bid jumps there on the 161. Nothing crazy. I'm just purely looking at the levels of expectation of kind of what we're hitting, right? So there's your live tag of the 161. So some short cover pop, yeah, common. What are the odds? Who would have thought? All right, so here you can see, so I want to kind of zoom in on the micro now with Bitcoin, right? So this right here, this bottom that you can see my cursors on, that's the weekly level that we were using as our sell target. So weekly level hit, break down, back test, now higher low. So we'll see if this develops into a long here or if it just completely gets shaken out. Like I said, I'm not necessarily giving up on it right away. It just needs more time to digest. Like I said, things can change at a moment's notice. So I don't want to say a moment's notice, but basically I'm more interested to kind of just hang out, relax on Bitcoin because we've hit the sell target now. And now we'll basically see how the market digests going into the next week, because that's what to me is important right now in Bitcoin, is seeing the digestion in this 54,000 area, 53,000, whatever, as we lead into next week. Okay. What is the current Conor way? It's a little bit of everything. It's Anchor VWAPs, it's moving averages, it's statistical analysis, it's Fibonacci. I would say it's as many angles to keep everyone on tilt. I just kidding. No, we're just, again, a little bit of everything. Fibonacci's anchor, VWAP, statistical analysis. I mean, we can see, I mean, I don't really look at, like, I know a lot of people love ICT concepts too. I don't necessarily use that, but I see it in the chart. So a lot of those things might line up with things that we may look at. You know, yeah, all that. VIX, trends. So this morning too, while we were streaming, business partner Brandon hit $24,988.34 in chat with the private members. So that's pretty epic. Really, I expect nothing less from the gentleman. I mean, his trading skills are crazy. So good for him. That's an amazing day. And let's see. Wonder how. Hell yeah. Here's some other cool stuff. This is what you like to see from people. Semper, beautiful 12,000. Mason member there working on some, what are those, Apex accounts, I think, or maybe one of the prop things running up. That's 2-2, so that's 4, 8, 10, 10, 5, call it or so. Chris B running up. What do you run up? 2,700 or so. 18's good. That's good. So again, Brandon's my partner, runs a lot of the live trade aspect in our room. He has a very good keen eye for exact timing of things. So beautiful stuff there. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. I might even have to update Twitter on some stuff here. I did go to Twitter the other day and kind of make a joking thing. You got to kind of look for some bounces in that 54,000. But again, it's just, the market's a little shaky, so it's probably improper for the moment. Which is actually probably one of a good time. I'm gonna hold on, guys. Damn it. Profile, post. All right, we're gonna have to go all the way back. When do we start this one up? August 30th. There was the picture. Shoot. Sorry, guys. This might take a second. Just got to do the proper update here of the foresight analysis. That was August 20th. Okay. Oh, yeah. So this was back. On August 20th when we were talking about watching for the long target breakup, right? To 64,000. You guys remember? I'll actually bring that up, right? So if we go look at good old Bitcoin. you know, you will see that that last pump. So we look at that last pump on Bitcoin. You notice how it goes to 64,000 and some change and then rolls over, right? So that was on August 20th. Again, mentioning watch for the long break to 64,000. So that tells me we got to scroll up some. And then obviously on August 27th, we kind of sent out the new update to watch for 54,000 with a little cry face because unfortunately the market was most likely due for downside. Hence, it's sad. We don't want that. And Batman, of course, when Gotham needed him most, he let you know we were going to 54,000. So we're going to take this puppy from August 27th, copy it, boom, here, post, scroll up, and then again, on August 28th, we were confused why everyone was selling Bitcoin to 54,000. Again, August 30th, we were confused why everyone was selling Bitcoin to 54,000 and some change. On August 30th, we gave you a drawing book for the 54,400. Okay, we will have to add to this post because we go up. And on August 30th, we send out another update. Why does everyone keep selling to 54,000? Let's go into here. Sorry, I'll get done with this here in just a second or two. All right. On August 30th, Mike says on August 30th / August 29th, Mike said the bottom was in, but we hadn't yet sold to 54,400, so it seems like maybe it wasn't actually in. August 31st, why is everyone still selling Bitcoin to 54,445? Again, you can see the prices are slightly changing in these posts as the levels update day to day. So again, as we said, levels can change on a day-to-day basis, so I constantly look to kind of track them and update them in real time to figure out where exactly the price may be in that moment in time. Dude, why is everyone still selling Bitcoin to 54,500 now? 501 actually. Alrighty, where else are we at? Oh yeah, this was fun. Why? Oh no, my tummy is sick. 54,512 bowl of soup. Ooh, with the old puke face. Gotta love that one. That one's fun. Oh, too many photos. All right, we gotta start a new one here. Don't worry, I'm almost done. This is where I get my joy in life, so just bear with me. Okay, that was the macro support call for the market the other day. Obviously, market's in a sell signal. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. September 3rd, just a few days ago. Bro, what the hecky? Why are you guys still selling Bitcoin to 54,000? Stop selling to 54,000. We told you to stop selling it here weeks ago. So that memo, clearly nobody listened to that one because we still sold all the way to 54,000. I tried my best to prevent it, but somehow the market wanted it. So there's only so much you can do. Oh, that was a good one. All right. Also, those are the longer term sell targets, 37, 38,000. Those are kind of like basically the market goes into a weekly downtrend, gets spanked. We should expect 37,000, 30. Well, I think that's actually 40,000 to 38,000 now, give or take, but you guys know. All right. Vivek here. Who the heck is selling Bitcoin? Again, not sure why everyone keeps selling Bitcoin to the 54,500. We afford everyone to stop selling at these prices, but it seems it didn't work. Okay. Okay. Another one. 16 hours ago. So that was last night. All right. And then we should be like pretty much done. And then maybe the potentially early call. But again, like I said, we kind of completed our sell target. So we're going to give this till the next week. This is basically where we're at. We're at a situation where we may break down and just spank the entire Bitcoin market, or we might flirt with like a bounce into next week. So it's a little soon. I haven't done too much more looking after because we just hit the sell target right now. So I'm kind of like starting to develop potential new plans. So in my brain, I know that there's a lot of people getting bearish right now on the internet, right? And I just saw some posts like this. You'll see right here. Arthur Hayes. Bitcoin is heavy. I'm gunning for 50,000 sub this weekend. I took a cheeky short, pray for my soul. I think I commented on this saying perfect time. As in perfect as we're just reaching the 54,400 target, which could be used as a weekly bounce heading into next week. So though the chart looks like shit and it looks like it's going to break down, it still might be too soon, which leads me to believe there is the potential for a hesitation and or let's call it a lackluster holding bounce into next week. Therefore, people chasing the short here, hoping for the breakdown, could still just be a little too early. So I'm kind of on the fence with let's chill, maybe like let this stuff digest for a second, and basically see how people, gunning for shorts down to 50 sub play out type jazz, right? So I see some people they're obviously getting positioned short, and when I see this and then I look at 669,000 people viewed that, right? So is that changing the perception of 669,000 people to jump short? Obviously, all 669,000 people aren't going to be short, right? But is the perception changing there a bit? Obviously, it is. But so those are the things I'm kind of thinking about right now as far as Bitcoin. So now that we've done all of that, all right. So that's good, good timestamp. You can come back to it. You can learn from that. We're a good news organization here, I'd say. I think we're doing our best to provide valuable info in a timely manner, in a foresight manner. At least that's my objective. It always has been, and it seems the longer I sit here in front of the computer, the little better I get at it day by day. So, rock on, brothers. All right, sorry. I'm just getting back into the office, kind of looking at some stuff. All right. All right. Sorry, I'm going to bring up where is it at? Did I just cancel out the YouTube thing? Maybe. There it is. All right, sorry, I'm back here. Oh, Brandon, there he is. Sorry. There he is. There's my boy Brandon. Yeah, so Brandon's in chat. As we mentioned, basically killed 20 something G's in chat because gangsta. Bro, I can't even, I don't even know how to spell, I don't know how to pronounce that word. It's actually never been taught to me. It's outside of my vocabulary currently. So I don't know what you're talking about. Free your mind. Have never. Yep. No. Don't even want to say it. All right. So yeah, Bitcoin 54,438. Oh, I gotta update the chat room on that too. Hold up. Bitcoin. Alrighty. Free your mind. Hee. Yeah, funny. Interesting. So, yep, folks. Yep. I wish. I mean, should I just start doing it? Should I just? Fine. We'll just fucking. Sorry. We're just gonna. Sorry. You know what? I gotta refrain from swearing too. I need to clean my vocabulary a bit myself. But. I mean, again, we are teetering on the edge with Bitcoin. It's just debatable whether they got one. We got one more little juice box back to the upside for the moment. And that, again, I just don't want to be the one to be like, yeah, we're just gonna break down and rip right now, because again, that's just generally not how markets function. When it happens, but again, we are teetering though. We are pretty teetered there. All right, so I'm gonna pull this puppy back. We're going to look at some stuff here. Whoa, where'd you go? All right, so let's see. That's a pretty shit candle, though. All right, so the first thoughts are, if we are going to hold some support and not give out leading into next week, and when I say if, it means I'm not really planning for a breakdown right now, only because I think it's just a little too soon. If that needs to change, so be it. Once that kind of, I'm comfortable with that, maybe we'll change. But otherwise, we could very well be seeing, and it might be too soon for that. I kind of have to dial this down some. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing this arguably bounce, and maybe, I mean, we'll see, but it's kind of a tough one. I'm not as comfortable when it's really early, and we broke the level. But basically, we're going to need the market to recover some weekly VWAP levels on Bitcoin around, call it 54,000, like 477. We start getting over that, then that would help. But It's kind of hard to get a projection on this one the way I would like, though. So maybe that means I'm just a little too soon. So we haven't gotten that guy. I mean, yeah, if we were to hold some sort of kind of support going into next week and kind of juice up over the next week and a half and we don't dump out, then we're just basically going to look for Bitcoin to probably go back up to like 57,000, 58,000. Those prices are going to update as we go into next week. So that's why I'm kind of just like, eh. So everything's just a little soon on it. I'm kind of building the narrative right now. But yeah, probably a little too soon on that. Levels aren't quite developed. I mean, I see some levels that need back testing on Bitcoin, but again, it's a matter of how we transition into the next week here with Bitcoin. So we'll see. All right, enough of that. No more talking on Bitcoin because again, what's there to say? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Not to mention, right? So we have downsided long targets, sell targets, and long targets. I got to say one more thing on Bitcoin. I'm sorry. So we have downsided sell targets and long targets on Bitcoin to basically right now it's 39,000 to 38,000. You know, it's kind of the expectation we're going to go there in a bigger scale. Now this expectation I've had since when Bitcoin was trading at 49,000. All right. But instead of back testing then, they blew us up. So it's almost like we're going for the back test now. So, you know, even thinking about that big Twitter post talking about the guy getting short wanting sub 50K, it's kind of like a good thing too that there's a good portion of the market that, you know, wants to go sub 50K and sell it there, because then that would arguably help sell it into our sell target / long target bounce location. So we are also watching that 40,000 to 38,000 price again as a kind of a bigger downswing target on Bitcoin to then reverse the market back long. So as long as cycles and cyclical patterns kind of remain somewhat true as the past, then we're looking for a downswing to 38,000, 40,000, and then a mega pump. So let's just hope that, you know, things are relatively the same as past cycles and we get a mega pump off about 38,000 to 40,000. This is also stuff that's been mentioned across my Twitter, you know, months and months, and heck, probably like a year ago now. Maybe not a year, that might be pushing it, but months and months and months ago. So it's kind of levels and things that we've kind of expected can come. Nothing ever goes in a straight shot, though, you know. So still need some time to develop there. I was actually at the doctor's office today. I was actually gone for most of pretty much everything good. So I was gone. Actually, yeah, taking a trip. So we went and got some meds for this trip we're going to be taking out of the country to Thailand, things like that. So yeah. So that's that. All right, good time to review some of the stocks in the day. And actually, let's take a look at the news. I wouldn't say I was gone for most of the day. That's kind of a lie, but I was gone for a lot of your cool action. I was literally sitting in this appointment. I'm like looking at my phone, like, well, there goes the market down. Like, there goes our sell target. You know, it's like, that's cool. So this is the type of stuff that, you know, we're kind of talking about. You know, when you can kind of expect things to be fluff news. So you see how like the sky is not falling. The U.S. economy added 142,000 jobs in August, but then the market gets smoked today, right? So it's like, Again, we're in a selling operation, so a lot of times irrelevant of what data comes out and how they may try to spin it, a lot of times whatever operation is underway is going to take precedent over whatever news articles are coming out. Nope, still haven't updated the course of new strategies. We've kind of been building out our new website, and that's kind of been taking precedent in the immediate. like here's another one, right? So like we're in a selling operation, so here comes Market Watch, like, oh, hey, did you know that this guy, a big name guy from Nvidia, sold $633 million since June, right? So again, another bearish kind of narrative getting thrown at you. Jumbo Fed cut and play, sink his jaw. Let's see. Stocks erase gains, head for big weekly losses after jobs, right? So again, like, they're kind of spinning a narrative. It's like, oh, so the stock market's actually down because the jobs are bad, even though we just had CNN say, like, sky's not falling. We just added a bunch of jobs. So it's like you have two mainstream networks here that are causing mass confusion for readers here because, like, at least looking at one headline, I'm like, oh, things are good. And then we look at another headline, it's like, actually, the jobs are bad because now it's going to have huge weekly losses, right? So it's like, or maybe is it just we're in a selling operation? So again, just naturally when in a downtrend, things are going to go down, and then the news is going to be programmed to further that direction and or cause confusion. So again, it's a tough one to look at there, but yeah, Yahoo Finance, weekly losses after the jobs report. So again, anyone reading that is going to be like, oh, jobs must have been bad, that's why the market's down this week. Though a selling operation started well before the jobs data came out. We started a selling operation on, I think it was September 3rd, and it's the 6th. So 3 days ago, we started the selling operation, which is 3 days prior to the data coming out anyways. So is it the jobs data that's running the market down? All right, so as we kind of take a little peek ski here, NVIDIA is getting a little, actually, let me go back here. All right, so we still got some room down to the daily there on the SPY. Bitcoin's at 54,000. Looks like everything's red, obviously. Apple. Oh, looks like they used Apple for another stock for a trigger today. Yeah, so you can see Apple was used as a trigger stock today. NVIDIA was not. Was that today? That was today. Microsoft was used as a trigger stock today with the rejection of the 50 SMA. So you had Microsoft and Apple used as triggers. Google was not. Amazon was. Oh, see, that's another one. Remember just yesterday we were saying Amazon is one of the stocks still holding up. So this is kind of one of the next ones you're going to watch for a trigger. So you can see here they broke down Amazon today at 175.82. Again, creating an algorithm sell trigger across a specific individual equity. Then that helps decrease market cap on the S&P, etc. Meta was used as a trigger. So you had a lot of individual stocks get triggered into selling operations today, along with the market already being in a selling operation. So it's kind of like the continuation of the overall market sell move by having 5 individual, or maybe it was like 4 individual big cap stocks trigger their own individual sell algos today as well. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I was going across some other YouTube streams today, and I was looking for some that may have told me the market's been in a kind of like a selling operation. but I was kind of unable to find any. I checked CNBC, I didn't find much luck there. I was on Yahoo and wasn't much luck there, and then there was a couple other ones, but there just wasn't much. So I didn't really have anyone to bounce ideas off of that kind of on the same narrative, unfortunately. Let's actually check some more news here. Let's see. S&P 500 falls 1% Friday. Heads for worst week in a year. How? I don't know. But why? Stock market today. Stocks erase gains. Dow down. Jobs report will likely determine the size of the Fed cuts. I mean, there's just so much going on here, folk. Oh, my hair is just looking. I am just. Look at that. Look at that. Not looking good. That's not. That's not looking good. That right side is receding way too quick, fam. Way too. It's getting cut out like the market today. You know what I mean? Probably just, I should even just like add a small note here. QQQ. Okay, so QQQ, right? So QQQ. 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 Again, guys, we talked about this a little bit earlier. QQQ coming into some weekly VWAP stuff. So if the market is lucky and the controllers of the market want to be somewhat cool, so if there's any market makers listening, again, it would be pretty cool to rip a bounce right about 448.36. I would say most of the retail market would have zero clue what's going on there. So that would be pretty cool, guys. So again, if there's some market makers in here that have some control on this puppy, you could do that. Still, I guess the market looks like straight turd right now. Again, still lower lows, lower highs, beat red candles down. I haven't really looked at anything momentum based on that, to be completely honest. The QQQ 5-minute MAC is getting a little positive. Not a really big buy wave, but we are positive cross room to the zero line. But so far, the candles and the patterning of the market still look like a complete algorithm sell to the downside. So it looks like algorithms still have complete control of the markets down, even while seeing, positive momentum there on the MAC, things like that. But then again, that is a weekly level, so it's Friday, so we'd have to, it would still be transitioning through the weekend. So the only thing you could really expect here, if any, is hopeful that there's some sort of bounce on the intraday, but you'd still need till next week anyways. But anyways, QQQ again, coming into levels you really wouldn't be looking at super bearish for the moment, but yeah. Let's see where let's go back to the VIX. I need to look at some short-term stuff here. VIX, let's see. All right, so VIX just juiced to the gills. Again, if you look at the VIX, the 1 minute's in an uptrend, the 5 minutes in an uptrend, everything's uptrending at this point. So there isn't one time frame that's downtrending on the VIX currently too. So it's like even if we were going to bounce or have some sort of market hesitation and bounce, naturally you'd kind of expect to start seeing some sort of short-term downtrend on the VIX, and that's obviously not even, there's nothing there for that. Everything is still completely upsided on uptrend there. You can see it's pretty much clear as day, right? So up, up, hold, up. So even if you were going to get some sort of market bounce relatively soon, you would expect to hopefully see at least some bearishness on the VIX, at least starting a 1 minute downtrend, right? But that still hasn't happened. So this is where we're coming into that weekly level. I mean, we're pretty close. Hasn't quite tagged. I mean, it's close though. I guess it's still got at least a little bit of room there. Let's go check back to the SPY. Actually, what would be a better way to say is weekly sell target support over under. All right. So basically we just use standard deviation as we've always used standard deviation, understanding if the market is on statistically oversold or statistically overbought levels, and as you near weekly levels, again, you're more likely, there's better value there. So again, it may have changed a little bit, but again, the ultimate way that we pretty much just look at standard deviation is we've kind of, let me pull it up, sorry. So like right now, right? So right now the market is on sale, right? Because the market is below the long-term mean, right? So you're better off just buying the market here than you would have been by buying it up here, right? Because now you're on the low distribution side where things are on sale. So that's kind of more of the way that we're kind of using the standard deviation at this day and age, is really just understanding where we're at from a statistical value perspective, right? So let's pull up the QQQ. Might give kind of a better representation here, possibly. All right, so like looking at QQQ, QQQ is now one standard deviation away from the mean, right? So now we are trading at standard deviation value support. So by buying here, you're essentially taking the market and you're giving yourself the opportunity for a 10%, a 9% return on the NASDAQ, based off of it reverting back to the long-term average, right? Now, yeah, so that's just it, right? That just like kind of like back here, you can't really, I could take this on, yeah, well, let's go back here. You can't really see it too good, but like back here in this last dip, again, that was -1, and it provided a 15% return once it got back to the mean, right? If you bought the market up here, it provided you a, like a -2% return back to the market, right? Back to the mean, right? If you bought up here, right, then you're still a couple percent away from the mean. So it's kind of the pendulum swing. As you're on the downside, you're on sale. When you're on the upside, you're more overbought, if you may. Now, one might be thinking, well, Connor, what if you bought long here? So again, we hit support, guys, just an FYI. We hit the -1 on the NASDAQ. The SPY pretty much hit its daily level. I'll bring it up. Again, weekly sell target support over under. Again, we're just now coming into it. It's all pretty, I would say, pretty normal stuff. The daily level on the NASDAQ, or sorry, the daily level on the SPY. So daily support on the SPY, we missed here by about 20 cents or so. We also hit the downswing target. So again, you're coming into some of these oversold little bottom bounce support areas. Again, sell signal's kind of strong. So yeah, back to this, right? So one would go, well, Connor, what if I buy here and it goes lower? I mean, like, that can totally happen, right? Now, this has been the normal distribution pattern over the last year. A different distribution pattern may occur, right? You can see back here, we went below -1 on the last sell-off, right? We went below -1, right? Extremely oversold values would be like down to here. If you're down to here, you're just closing your eyes and getting long, basically, right? Now, actually, that's kind of interesting. Huh. I was gonna say the Nasdaq isn't really that far off its 50 SMA, but if you look at the SPY, right? So when you look at this and you go, well, what about the -1 and all this stuff? You know, in my mind, I'm like, we're still in a long-term weekly uptrend. We're on the low side of distribution, and we're still extended from the long-term momentum average, right? So, what does that all mean? It just basically means the markets have room down. We're in the lower distribution. I mean, I guess I don't really know how much better to say it. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. You know, how do you use it? Buy when things are on sale. So if you wanted to, you know, so again, for your long-term portfolios or anytime you're looking at buying something, you'd be better off buying when you see the market go below the mean than you would be buying it above the mean, right? And as long as the world doesn't end and we don't go through epic recessions, then you're going to recover, you're going to trade back to the mean, you'll get your 9% return. And then if you distribute into the upper distribution, you end up with a 20% return. So again, if you look at something like this, right? So the market sells down to here, that would be down 6%, close to -1. So somewhere in that bottom provides you a 10 to 11% return back to the mean, right? So then you end up getting over the high and you shift through the mean and you ended up going up another 15%. So from this low to this high provides a 27% return in the market. So when you're thinking about dollar cost averaging, right, to make it simple, you might say you dollar cost average, like, what if you're just buying into your portfolio and you're doing a couple $100 a week, or you're doing $25 a week, doesn't matter, right? So you might be doing $25 a week, $25 a week, $25 a week. And then when you see the market is below the average, you just buy like couple hundred. And then you're going to reduce your average simultaneously knowing that you're on sale. So it gives you a visual perspective of when you're on sale, whereas you don't have to think whether or not you are or aren't, right? It's telling you you are. All right, so being on sale and the market performing in a way that you want are irrelevant, right? So that's kind of more of the way we analyze and think of that is value. We think of it in terms of value, right? Let me take a look at some longer stuff. I mean, at this rate, to be honest, I kind of think the SPY is going to go down. We've said this before. We talk about a lot of things. There's a lot of levels in between everything, but if we're kind of just going on like maybe a bigger perspective, I mean, even seeing the SPY down to $533 and, 30, or what did I say? Yeah, like 534, totally normal for that to happen. Really would be no surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to you at this point too. But yeah, again, a lot of our stream is just going to be a repeat of stuff because, there's only, so much that could be going on at one time. Hey, Sam. A 50 viewers. Appreciate all of you. God bless you. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. I wish maybe there was more to say, but there's not a whole lot. Well, that's not true. See, it's like we already said a bunch, but it's like I guess we kind of covered a lot of it. So you're just kind of watching things progress and play out, right? So again, what we'll do here is just kind of like a little run through, kind of a refresher. You start at the weekly time frame. Are you in an uptrend? Yes or no. Go to the daily. Are you in an uptrend? Yes or no. Then go to a 4-hour uptrend. Yes or no. Go to an hourly uptrend. Yes or no. Then go to a macro. I call it macro, but go to maybe a smaller time frame like a 30-minute. And that's going to be your differentiating factor of basically short-term buy and sell operations that are then taking place within bigger trends. So what you have right now is like, for example, on the 30-minute, and I'm just going to delete, I don't want to delete everything. Maybe I'll just bring up, I'll bring up the trading view, or not trading view, I'll bring up this guy here. All right, so we'll look at this guy on full screen. All right, so so what we would say is the weekly right now is in an uptrend, right? We all agree weekly's in an uptrend because we're over the SMA, right? Now someone's going to go, but the market's going down. That's true. Market is selling down while still in a weekly uptrend. That is entirely correct. That being said, did the daily chart flip down? Look at, there's your daily 50 SMA, which is basically uptrend, downtrend 50 SMA. That's down. So part of just today's selling action was also algorithms that were triggered based on the daily scale. It said, hey, daily chart just slipped down, sell the daily. So the daily has now entered a downtrend. But the daily couldn't go into a downtrend until what? Until a shorter time frame went down. So now we're going to look at the 4-hour. 4 hours pretty close to the daily in this instance. Let's look at the hourly. So we go look at the hourly, okay? So when did the hourly flip to a downtrend? Right? There. Right? So the hourly is down there. When did the 30-minute flip down? The 30-minute flipped down right there, right? So this little box, which you won't be able to see that great, you can't really see it, but where those white lines are pointing, that's where the 30-minute and the hourly, which are the short-term trends that you look for active intraday directional picking. 30 minutes and hourlies always kickstart buy and sell moves that have relatively good enough confirmation, right? They're not such a small time frame that there's so much back and forth. They're not too long of a time frame where the shift doesn't occur very often. They're almost the sweet spot. Whereas this is where buying and selling algorithm and operations kickstart from. Okay. Now you saw just here, right? We were over pop. Again, I'm not here to give you every single nuance of the market. I'm just here to point you in the right direction. So what you have is you have the 30 minutes and the hourlies on September 3rd start a sell move. That selling operation, as far as moving averages are concerned, was strong enough to, sorry, one second. We're going to go to the hours. So we're going to start at the 10-day 30, right? So 10-day 30, right, goes negative, right? Then you have your hourly. Your hourly goes negative. Sells it all the way down. We could find other moving averages too. I'm just going through some common ones, right? That sells all the way down to the 4-hour. Then the 4-hour just today snaps, right? So now your 4 hours negative along with your daily. So now your daily is negative, right? Someone might be saying, well, when are you looking to buy? Are you looking to buy when the daily goes positive? Are you looking to buy when the 4-hour goes positive? Not necessarily. We know that if the daily goes positive, there's going to be positive outcome from the daily going positive. And we know if the 4-hour goes positive, there's going to be positive outcome from the 4-hour going positive. But if you wait for a daily or a 4 hour to go positive, you miss out on a chunk that has to go there first. We know that a 1 and a 5 minute probably wouldn't give us good enough confirmation, so we're going to go somewhere like a 30 minute or an hourly for the macro trend change. So when we look at, say, the SPY, let's do this too. Let's look at the daily level. I'll put that right there. So now we look at the 10-day, 30-minute chart. We say that the market is still bearish as long as it's below this price. So even if the daily did flip positive, we still really wouldn't be positive trend because the short-term macro didn't really change too. So we're still in a bearish market. We've come down into some bouncing levels, as we've already said, based off of some weekly stuff, daily support stuff, and sell signal Fibonacci levels. When we say bouncing, right, you're in a downtrend. So it's a counter long level, all right? And so, yes, market is still selling, market is still downsided. If I do consistent streams, you guys would be notified when we go into a buying operation. And then the narrative will change, and my narrative would change, which is, hey guys, you can start watching the market's long bias now. Anything that we talk about on the long side when in a sell operation should be seen as and treated as counter trend. Counter trend, die out. Counter trend, die out. How far do those counter trend bounces go? That's kind of the $1,000,000 question. We have ways of, attempting to pick how far a counter trend bounce is going to go and how far it might reach. That's going to be far harder than the market being in an uptrend because the market is naturally going to go up, right? So again, you can see here, we start the selling operation, bounce, dies, bounce, dies, bounce, dies. Every single bounce has died, which should be expected because you're in a selling operation. So until the trend changes the positive, it's bounce, sell, bounce, sell, bounce, sell. Are we going back to 5,100 if you had to make an educational guess? Wrong chart. That's why I'm like, something don't look right. Okay, so first expectations of downside on this swing are pretty much they were 546 and then 540, right? So when you're asking about my expectations, we mapped them off yesterday and then gave you the downside expectations yesterday, right? The next downside expectation that I have is going to be, if I had to make one, not really make one, it always is one. The next downside expectation for the SPY is going to be down somewhere closer to $533.77 to $534. I could get real into it, why this, that, the other, but there's again, nothing ever moves in a straight line. So like even if tomorrow by next week. So like say next week we go through a bounce and it bounces for 2 days. $533 is still open for business, right? It doesn't mean we have to go there in a straight line. It doesn't mean we have to go there by next week or like by Monday or Tuesday and roll over, right? Like what if Monday, Tuesday wanted to bounce and then it wanted to roll over and then go to 533.40, right? So when we talk about targets and expectations and things like that, it's not to present to you guys and be like, oh, hey, like this is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be easy and breezy, right? That's not kind of the way you should perceive it, right? The markets can bounce off short-term levels. They can create short-term uptrends. They can do whatever it wants, right? As it progresses to these levels, right? So that's why I always kind of go back to, we have downside destinations and there could be counter longs along the way, but one thing remains the same. The downside targets are always attainable as long as the market is in a downtrend. So That's the narrative I'm going to keep sticking with, and it's never going to change. Day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. At this point, it never changes for me. It's always the same kind of repeating process. So like everything you've seen me do today will be repeated every single time, unless I think something is kind of less valuable and we kind of get rid of it. But and that can happen, right? So nonetheless, I will be right back. I am going to get a coffee. All right, that's always a good thing. Even though you're not supposed to drink it this late in the day, theoretically, but who cares? All right, we'll be back. Wait. Okay. That looked weird, but there was a good question there, I think. Someone asked me about Tesla. Sorry. Sam, yeah, if you're still here hanging out, I'll go over Tesla. If you're not, well, I guess I'll just still go over Tesla. So, yeah, Tesla just so Tesla is one of those kind of stocks hanging out. Tesla started a sell op here this morning or afternoon at about 219.70. Now, again, I know you're going to go, well, Connor was all the way up here, right? Again, I'm just trying to help differentiate between a top and a trend move, right? So we can see that the trend has flipped from positive to negative, right? I know you might be thinking it's like we're looking at it and going, well, it's just a line on a chart, right? And it is, but how about this? Let's do something like this. All right, so let's remove the 50. Let's remove it, right? So we're gonna remove that, and then we're gonna remove this because whatever, right? And let's just kind of draw on the chart for a second, right? So let's do this: up, higher low, higher high, higher low. I know there was another one in there, and it kind of, again, this is just simple stuff. Higher high, higher low, push, right? Higher lows, higher highs, right? And it kind of breaks down there. And then where's the big, like, most recent major low? Right about here, okay? That's where we're at, right there. So if you're looking at price action, right? If you look at price action, one will say higher lows, higher highs, up, maybe like a top action breaks down, and now we've taken out this low, so Tesla's down, right? Totally true. Exactly. So you can visually look at the chart, and you can maybe depict the higher low, higher high action and go, oh, it's downsided now, right? Now, ironically enough, okay, look at where the 50 SMA lines up with all of that. At the same exact location. Okay? So as the market comes down and arguably breaks some of this chart structure, it's the same exact spot as when the 50 SMA is breached to the downside. The 50 SMA is the uptrend downtrend level. As the market breaks through it, you will be presented visually with what looks like a chart structure breakdown, because it determines the ebb and flow, up to down, up to down. And as you come below it, chart structure rolls down, breaks what was previously developed. The higher lows that you just saw were previously developed basically by getting positive over the 50. Again, look at, we're down, over, up, higher low, down, below, higher low taken out, or previous higher low. So it's the ebb and flow of positive to negative trend change that then develops the higher low, higher high sequencing. And knowing where that shift point at in the chart is, to me, invaluable. All right. And here's another way of thinking about it. All right. If you have what you can determine as a good kind of over under positive negative level, then you can start individually picking out stocks on the day to be acted upon as triggers. Let me explain further. So let's say it looks like the market's going to roll over, but you're like, is it? I don't really know. Maybe it is. And then you go and you look at Amazon. You go, Amazon just broke down its 50 SMA. Kind of looks like it's picking up selling. And now Apple's breaking. And now Tesla's breaking and JP Morgan's breaking. And so you have this macro environment trend that you can extrapolate across multiple stocks. So look at how quickly we can look at 10, 15, 20 stocks and say if they're up or down from a simple perspective, right? So let's go to Apple. Apple's down. Nvidia's down. Google's down. Microsoft is down. Amazon is down. Meta is down. Berkshire Hathaway is down. Lilly's down. TSM down. AVGO down. Tesla just started down a little bit ago. JPM been down. Look at the arrows pointed to it. I think we were on stream the other day and I pointed, hey guys, JP Morgan just got bearish, right? That was literally the arrow. That's where I was. That's the last time I said JP Morgan just flipped bearish, right? Again, did I know that the downtrend was going to be so severe and do all of that? No, but I was able to just quickly depict we flipped negative. Probably not the best opportunity to be slamming longs, right? So it's a really quick way that you can transition through a bunch of stocks, right? So now we go to J&J. J&J started down just a day ago with the back test. Visa is actually holding up well. So now you can see, it was like, Visa's just, it isn't even really breaking down with this. So it's like, Visa's actually performing relatively decent amongst all of this shitstorm, right? Because you can see it went through a sell, like it tried to, it broke down, but it's not really given up so far. So either that means it's going to give up or it's going to hold. And when the market starts to bounce again, that could be a strong candidate theoretically because, you know, it had additional strength. So you'd be looking, you'd think of Visa as kind of something like if we go through a nice market bounce, Visa holds towards highs, kind of maybe continues push, right? Continues momentum higher, whereas the ones that got beaten down are going to be oversold bounces, right? So you can kind of start to build a different perspective for what play or how stocks would be kind of performing, right? So one would be like still maintaining momentum, and when we look at something like Nvidia would be like oversold bounce, right? Because this thing did not hold highs, it's kind of rolled down. So Nvidia would be like oversold bounce. Something like Visa would be like maintaining high momentum push, right? Again, that's a lot of what if scenarios I just put in there, but you can kind of start to see how you might build narrative and build thesis for individual stocks, right? Simply off of one line on your chart, because that one line is like it's like a universal level that all stocks maneuver around and all markets maneuver around. And then since algorithms are programmed in the market, it's like basically one big language, right? So it's like the stock market is operating on a 50 SMA language, right? You guys can all understand what I'm saying because I'm speaking English, and I'm assuming most of you guys are English speaking individuals in here. But again, if I started streaming and I was in China and saying, they'd be like, wow, what is he saying? Makes no sense, right? But when you take the English language and then call it a 50 SMA and throw it onto a chart, that's how stocks start to speak, right? One of them. A lot of moving averages too, right? So anyways, good stuff right there. Really good stuff. All right. So again, we can continue here. Look at Netflix down. Actually, Netflix was a part of the sell algo today. They triggered with that one. AMD down. UPS, not really. UPS is just kind of chopping, doing some turd stuff, right? This would be, this would just be absolute. You can see how many kind of like false pop, false drop, false pop, false drop. That's another thing, is that individual stocks are far more volatile than the actual S&P 500. So using this approach on individual stocks is a little harder than it is the SPY, because the SPY is comprised of so many different companies that it's less volatile, and the reads around moving averages can be a little simpler than that of something like UPS, right? If you go look at the market does not naturally have this many whipsaws. It usually doesn't do that, right? But an individual stock is more prone to doing something like that. So again, something to take note on. Honeywell down, PG holding. See, look at that, Procter and Gamble, right? So just like that, I'm finding relative strength, right, on Procter and Gamble, right? Because look at, we broke up over the 50, and this thing's just been holding true even through this whole down cycle with the market. So kind of interesting. Coca-Cola down. Dow obviously down. See, again, the Dow's in a sell move, right? GLD just started down like, I don't know, an hour and a half ago, right? See that? So GLD just got flipped down. And you can even if we just zoom in and look at this last portion of it, right? So let's just zoom in here, and let's just take this box from here to here. Okay, so just looking at that. Ready? So we are down. It bottoms. And then where's the pop? The pop is right there. Pop up. As the algo shifts from negative to positive. Again, you don't control the markets. Algorithms and whoever else does. So whoever wanted to bottom this, bottomed it, drove it into an uptrend pop. And there's your long pop. Okay? This could have extended for a longer period of time. It just so happens that it pops, gets sold off to one bounce roll, and then what happens? Ready? And then it goes from kind of holding, down. Okay, it's the over-under. It's like a basketball court. Sometimes, a basketball team will steal the ball, run up the court, get past the halfway mark, and then they will miss the shot. And then the turnover will happen, and the ball will be right back down the other side of the court really quickly. Sometimes they'll take it across the halfway point, they'll pass the ball around, do a lot of moves, then take a shot, and they've burned up 30 minutes or 30 seconds on the clock or whatever, and the play was extended much longer, right? You imagine trying to go to a basketball game and predict exactly when, exactly how long each team is going to hold the ball for before they throw up the shot. Again, that would be nearly impossible. But one thing is for certain. when the team gets the ball past the halfway court, there's a good chance they're going to try and score almost every time, right? Because what basketball team would cross the halfway point and at least not attempt to shoot the ball in the basket? Only idiots. And they probably wouldn't be playing basketball at that point, right? So when the markets transition above the 50, the bias is that we're going to take a shot, okay? When we transition below it, the Bears are going to take a shot. Sometimes the progression will be better than others, all right? But at least that way your bias is in line with trend. And you're not sitting here trying to necessarily pick a bottom when you're in a downtrend just to buy a little bottom and then it rolls over and dumps on you, right? Or when you're in a buy move, you don't try to short something and it's like, oh, well, now it's up, right? So like imagine like on this day. So it's like you're over the 50 SMA, you see it going down, so you short it and then you get pushed out, right? So yeah. At least if you were to short on this breakdown here, at least you still have the opportunity for this to bounce and then catch resistance and stay in a downtrend. Markets are not meant to be easy, right? Like I said, I had great years of making money, some years of not making some money. Again, all in all, it's a tough business, right? So hopefully that sheds some light on that topic for you guys. So yeah, that's how you can run through 30 stocks in under a minute and get a pretty good scope on the market. And that was something I kind of struggled with for a long time, was just kind of being able to be on the right side of the direction of something. You know, not even you have to be in a trade on something, but just being able to look at something and go, oh, that's on the upside, oh, that's on the downside, and then watch it go down and be like, ah, makes sense, right? Versus being like, I have no, like it's up and then it's down and it's up and it's down and I can't make sense of it, right? It's because, you know, you're struggling to see when that shift is really taking place. And you won't always be right, you know, but that's what I struggled with for a long time, right? And this really pretty much cleared that up for me, at least in a way that I can understand. So again, what we're showing right here has to do with trend, not picking tops. If you want to pick bottoms, you know, that's completely fine. That's always a good approach because there's good trades around there, right? So we had mentioned if you were going to be looking for some sort of bottom bounces, even on this day, where would you do it, right? Pretty much anywhere in like this zone, which doesn't necessarily make it super easy, but that's pretty much where I expect that this day is going to be bottoming at. I don't think the market's going much lower than 538.95, and I think that as the markets sell into this area, you're just going to get pops back, right? It may result in a bigger move, but that's basically where my support's at currently for the market on the daily or on the SPY, right? So that's it. I don't know how. I'm not going to try to get too much more detailed. That's about the best I could do. Again. So this for me, this whole area is pretty much a support zone, right? I know it's kind of wide. There's just nothing I can do about it. There's a lot of stuff that we follow all in that area. And mind you, we had talked about this. I mean, we talked about this being support a decade ago, right? You know, it's hard to be like, oh, it's going to be perfect, or the bounce is going to be this big and it's going to be amazing. And it's just, again, it's that is tough, but again, you shouldn't be short into here. There's no point. You're coming into weekly support levels on the NASDAQ. You're coming into daily support levels on the SPY. You're coming into lower distribution 30-minute supports on the SPY. You're coming into 161 sell destinations on the current sell signal operation. Right? These are all things we've discussed today. That being said, the market's still a pain in the ass, right? Yeah, so rock on, brothers. Rock on. Do I see any different? Yeah, I mean, there is a difference. It's the calculation. The calculation of an EMA is obviously faster than that of an SMA. Oh, my session expired. Did it now? Did it now? Sure, bud. Sure. That's weird. Huh. Hold on, I'm getting kind of toasty in here. I gotta turn this fan on. All right, so can someone in chat tell me, when you're in a sell signal, how do you treat a support zone? Anybody? That is good, yeah, that is true, as a target. Black Mama, that would be correct. I'll add a little bit to that. Wait, I don't know if I said that correctly. Or the place to unload. So there's a couple ways, right? So you use a support zone as a downside sell target. That is correct. And also, you use the support zone in a downtrend as a counter long level. Okay? But unless you, for some reason, think it's going to be the holy grail of rippies off the low, then you should always treat it as a short-term, micro-long environment. Don't overstay your welcome. Reason being is the market is still in a downtrend and has not confirmed an uptrend. So you're taking a oversold metric, bouncing it in a downtrend. Hence, I think, and what I'll say right now, everything that has to do with the support zone on the screen should be used as a short-term bouncing location if you want to attempt that. If not, then wait for the market to enter an uptrend, right? Like I said, I thought this was a pretty decent spot to find some longs, find some bounce spots. You can see we had a decent one right there. Just based off the way that it looks, it kind of looks shisty anyways. But again, what do I know? Sometimes that's another thing I've seen. Like, I've picked some really nice bottoms, and I'm kind of looks a little iffy, and this shit just takes off like crazy. I'm like, well, kind of missed out there, but I'm glad I had the right zone, right? So I basically am suggesting you should not really be mega short bias anymore. If anything, it's kind of long bottoming picks in here. I wish I could give you like certain confidence levels for everything, but I can't. I don't know how to do that. It's because I'm an emotional person. But I was just gonna do something. Oh, yes, I was right. I was going to track the momentum here. So we do have really good MAC cross and momentum on the market right now on the QQQ, and we have a lot of room up for the market to retrace the zero line. So this is arguably still a scenario that maybe if the MACD isn't lying, which it can do many, many times, but again, if things are true as far as momentum is concerned and the markets would play nicely, then one would assume that yes, there's still room to go, because there's still room on MAC and momentum to progress the move further. Sometimes that can come in the case of a lackluster pullback and then some continuation, yada, 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 yada. We're not going to go too far into that, right? But again, does anybody remember the support call for the QQQ? Does anybody remember? Anybody at all? Because I'm going to bring it up. The green line. You see my green line there? There. That is the weekly sell target support over under. For now. Things can always change. But as the market first comes into a target we've been watching, the last thing we're going to do is expect to sell and break it through. There's a lot of people that would be watching the market today and they've seen this whole thing go down. They're like, oh man, it's just terrible. It's got to keep going down, got to keep going down. So they keep shorting lows, shorting lows, shorting lows until eventually we get to something like this, a great sell target location, pretty decent low risk, low reward, long opportunity location, and then you juice them back out. All right. Again, there's so much to take in. There's so much that we can cover, right? The market is one big organism. It's just everything goes hand in hand, right? In unison. You know, like for example, if I tell you guys on stream there's support here and then you guys start buying calls, then open interest is going to increase to the upside and then there's buying pressure to the upside. Or if I tell you don't short down here, right? What are you going to do? You might start buying long. So it's like there is some degree of self-fulfillment there to a degree. But again, like I said, everything is a self-fulfilling, or not self-fulfilling, sorry, everything is one big kind of organism there. But anyways, usually good moves happen because too many people are positioned on the opposite side. So like, you know, it's generally the consensus. So this is kind of a good perspective on how we used a weekly, longer-term scale level to emphasize an intraday bounce / value location. All right. Now, I mean, I can even see this. This is something where, wait, look at the SPY. All right, so pretty much the way this is going to work now is as long as the market maintains the volume weighted average price from the lows, then the long will continue. And obviously if it doesn't, then obviously it won't. So pretty much what we're going to do now, we're going to put another one like right about here. All right. So I'm going to bring up the SPY real quick. So as long as the markets are playing relatively nice and maintain over the price of 540.39, the markets most likely just keep pressing this bounce long. That's not to say that the long is supposed to persist for forever. It's more of kind of like a trailing stop / over-under location, you know, that basically says as long as the markets kind of play nice, don't really get too much acceptance below that level, long will stay fine. The flip side of that is then that becomes a downside short-term targetable level from the low. All right, so in the future of today, seeing the prices on the market fall right back down into 540.56, very plausible, okay? This would be kind of like your first initial long juice, right? First initial long, back test, if hold, can continue, right? If not, something like that, possibly. I'm just making fun drawings at this point, but you know, that's basically the logic, right? So now it's like if you buy here, you're buying too high in the micro term, which still runs risk of a big downtrend on the micro. You know what I mean? But when you were down here, you know, kind of coming into this stuff for the first time, you know, the opportunity is theoretically better to catch a bottom, if that makes sense. So now that now that you've bottomed, you know, you could be too soon, you get the point. So we'll just kind of see how it develops. Don't want to throw out too many, you know, what if, then there scenarios, but basically the market's hit a nice little support there. If this is supposed to hold something relatively decent with, you know, easy momentum and plays nice, then the market basically holds 540s and then continues a little bit of a bounce. If not, whatever. We'll figure that out when the time comes. Okay. Hopefully that makes some sense to everyone. I don't even have the chat up here. I don't know where it went. There it goes. Oh, what's going on, Nessa? Long time no see to you as well. Yeah. I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, I do. I mean, everyone's got a price point. I mean, all I can say is I do believe the analysis, the forecasting, and then the live trades that my business partner Brandon put out are worth it. I forget. Again, I do less trading nowadays. Do a lot of forecasting. Brandon does way better at trading, so he's kind of leading our chat room in that regards for a lot of the live trade stuff. But he I don't know. I think he's on like 180 days green right now. I have no idea. I just lose count. I don't even keep track anymore. He probably still keeps track, but I don't even keep track because the dude's probably like 180 days green in a row at this point. 185. He's literally like a human robot algorithm. So when you recognize that strength, as someone, you got to take note. And so that's why currently he's basically in charge of kind of the live trading concepts on the chat, because that's just how well he can do. With kind of seeing a lot of the micro shifts in real time. Like, I have to use a lot of this bigger stuff like you're seeing. So arguably, like this, kind of talking about this bounce here, this bounce concept for me took days to develop, right? We've been going through all this shitstorm just to get to this level. I mean, so he can do a lot better at some of this micro stuff even than I can. And so bottom line is real, recognize real. We got our strengths, we got our weaknesses. So when you ask, is it worth it? Maybe. Maybe not. I mean, if you want to be in a chat room with people who, can do pretty good at forecasting, I would say better than pretty good, and then someone who's 185 days green, then that's a place for you. So, and even then, even with us having good forecasts and things like that, trading is still hard. You know what I mean? So it's like it's still a big battle. So it's more of a battle against yourself than it is against the forecast, So it's like I could call a bounce here, but it's like, how long did you hold it? Did you let it run? Did you not? Did you close it to, whatever, all types of scenarios. So, again, the way I would rather you guys approach any of the service that we offer, and even these streams, especially on my side of things, as more of research and analysis put forth for the market. You guys click your buttons how you want to click them. And then if you're looking for some live trading examples in real time, my business partner Brandon does that, again, because he's like 185 days green. So why wouldn't you put someone that consistent in lead of that portion of the business in the chat room right now? So that's what we do, right? So we're just trying to recognize the strengths and where they sit and put that force for you guys. Not a bad support zone so far. Pretty decent. So let's see. The market was down. I mean, at the low, well, we bounced. So I don't know. What were we down? We were down about 2% maybe today. So let's see. Why are you guys buying the market at support? Don't do that. You're not supposed to know the support's there. It's supposed to be hidden. All right, so on September 6, 2024, at the lowest point, the S&P 500 was down to 500 and... Really? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. That's wrong. That is so wrong. That doesn't make no sense, but 539. Hold up. Hold on one second. What is this shit saying? So we opened today at 549.97. Hold on. We hit a low of 539.66. All right. So yeah, it looks like the S&P, as far as the SPY is concerned, it experienced a drop of 1.87%, which turns out to be one second. I'm figuring out the market cap decrease right now. So market cap on the SPY at today's low decreased $553 billion. Okay. So I'm not here to say that we predicted it would go all the way down to 539 and whatever, right? We did have some targets there. The market played nice. It fell down to our targets, some sell targets, and now we're bouncing support because we're in good value area. So basically, in a short way of saying that is, part of our forecasting and analysis pointed us in the direction of a $553 billion decrease in the largest globally traded ETF today, along with, now let's actually kind of see if the, one second. All right. That just doesn't seem right. Really? Or wait, no, sorry. Hold on, I'm trying to figure. I might have said that wrong. Sorry, the market cap decrease. Calculate market cap decrease. Sorry, I had that wrong. It was a market cap decrease of 11.34 billion. Sorry. So yeah, the market cap decrease today was $11.34 billion from the open to the close, that is. And then, as we just talked about, the last little support zone area, that support zone provided a $2.4 billion increase in market cap real quick. So the supports we were using down here were able to increase from the low to this most recent high. We're able to increase the market cap of the largest globally traded ETF by $2.4 billion. And again, we still have some support trend over under here as far as like here. So again, you guys know the jam. You guys know the jam. The jammy jams. Good stuff. Good stuff, people. Good stuff. It was kind of wicked. I searched for my live stream the other day, typed in my name, and then like went live, and it's like, you know, every single live stream on the planet but ours. Like, you know, we gotta change our live stream name to like Kamala Harris or something. Then I'm sure it's definitely gonna get a lot of attention. Tons of attention. And everything will be positive in that event. All right, folks, as we were talking about, you got some downside short-term sellies to wear the yellow boxer Ruski. Teddy Bruschi, baby. Teddy Bruschi. All right, and I would say the short-term retrace back to what I would be comfortable projecting is pretty much done. So what time is it? It's 11:30, so it's a start. Wait. hold up, that was the new 5 minutes. So we basically have most likely another 5 minutes anyways there before we'd expect anything. So again, we're kind of coming into some 5 minute over under support now. A lot of times can be used pretty decent, but we'll see. That's a harsh drop. Again, you don't want to be short here, because again, you could get pushed up on a 5 minute rally. If the shorts are lucky, the 5 minute support here just breaks and they wash it. If the shorts are unlucky from the top down here in the micro, then the 5 minute long is going to get pressed here. But again, like we said, this is all such finite stuff that, it's you guys know it's the market. What are we going to do, We're going to sit here on stream and help forecast the future as best as we can. We like to think that we're able to provide individuals with foresight analysis. That's pretty much my objective, main goal with all the analysis and forecasts we put forth. It's not always going to be right, obviously, like duh, because the market's challenging. But the main goal and the main objective, at least when I sit down and I do these streams and everything with you guys, is to hopefully provide you with foresight analysis. Again, because anyone can look at a chart and go back in time and go, hey, look at, this and that. But to sit down and show you prior to expectations, levels, things like that, that's not easy to do. So that's hopefully what we try to do that will set our forecasting analysis and things apart from hopefully every other live stream or every other channel and every other service. Are we always going to be right? No. I mean, you're going to be wrong. I mean, we're already wrong a bajillion times, right? But, the point is to basically be able to come in and say, hey, guys, you're coming into support areas, right? But you got to be careful because the retrace is to where? It's to here. So, like someone could have taken that long, someone could have taken that micro short as far as like short-term, market maneuvers, right? Someone would have been like, I think we should pull it back. Someone could have easily shorted that, made money here, right? Someone could have got long this bottom, made money there, right? However you think it's valuable to press that button, right? There's a bunch of different ways you can interact. That felt good. Look at the resistance and sell if it hits. SML, that is the best advice anyone has ever said in this chat. Rock on, brother. Rock on. Again, 134. So basically we're coming into the new 5-minute candle. It would be cool for the market to use it as support just so I could kind of emphasize the point of a 5-minute transition. But regardless, we're most likely going to get the resolution here in the next minute, which is going to either result in everyone who shorted this move down getting pushed out on the next kind of 5-minute long, or anyone getting long in this bottom getting washed in this next 5-minute candle. It may not be that perfect, but again, there's a good chance we're coming to resolution in this little yellow zone within the next minute or so. Well, it's going to be a couple minutes, but we're going to be transitioning to the next 5-minute candle. So if this is meant to hold 5-minute support, we transition 5-minute, and then you'll see a boost. If not, you'll get washed. Generally how it works. And you can kind of see if you look at, I think it's like Q, maybe they did the same thing on SPY. If you look at QQQ, they just did a doji candle the last 5 minutes. So basically they have an indecisive trapping doji candle on this bottom, open new 5-minute wash. Boom. There you go. See that? You see that? Timing. Understanding the transition through candles and levels and how people are getting trapped. That's another concept, but yeah. See how they just held that candle, held the candle, new 5-minute opens, and they just hit a nice big wash candle and just swipe everyone there? Yeah. I mean, it may not look like much there, but, you know, that's an important takeaway. All right, kind of interesting to see what the VIX is doing here. I'm kind of peeking at it from the side. Again, this is where that 5-minute trend starts to give up. Sometimes they'll do a more aggressive wash, sometimes not so much, but this creates danger for anyone on the 5-minute scale, because everyone who's been long this bottom, at least on the 1-minute and the 5-minute, have most likely been taken out. They're no longer in the long at that point. All right. Also, remember we talked about earlier, not that I was looking at this, but remember we were saying, hey guys, you know, if we're going to see the market bounce, then at least we would probably want to see something like a 1-minute downtrend, at least minimum, start on the VIX. So what ended up happening here, right? So as the SPY comes into that bottom, you had the VIX, if you see my cursor, you had the VIX break down the 1-minute 50. So at least the 1-minute started negative as the SPY came into support. So now you're getting some confluence where the volatility index 1-minute is now down trend while coming into oversold support on the market. And as a result, where did the market go? The 1-minute transitions to the 5-minute. We said that earlier today. We'll repeat it many more times. Again, but generally speaking, when moving averages and the moving average sequence plays nice, 1 minute transition to 5 minutes, right? So what you saw was, again, here, one second, pop this bad boy on to full screen, right? So you had a 1-minute uptrend, 1-minute uptrend, 1-minute uptrend, breach, flirt, roll, break away, go to 5-minute trend. 5-minute trend on the VIX holds support. So the 5-minute VIX catches support. That allows the market to create an intra top and get thrown down. Now, one might be saying, are you sure it wasn't resistance on the SPY that created the top? It could be. Something could have been there that I missed, so on and so forth. But what I did notice, at least right now, in this moment, as I kind of reviewed, I wasn't paying attention to us speaking, but one thing is for certain, we just got a 5-minute 50 SMA trend test on the VIX. So that is creating a micro long bounce volatility. That throws the SPY down, all right? Not to mention, you can see where the long started on the 5-minute scale. So look at the VIX, right? You can see this long development started at $20.15. This is the first test of the uptrend. So we broke out, created an uptrend swing. Now the uptrend is just getting tested again for the first time today since that 5-minute uptrend development. Logical thoughts are not going to break away first. You maybe get caught up on a bounce, right? Hence, first attempt. So again, the long here is pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much done for as far as like immediate momentum. And the reason I say that is because we're kind of giving up some of this 5-minute trend. Maybe it picks back up again, but, you know, all the long development from here has essentially gotten washed, right? So we'll see. Again, you guys know. You guys got the jazz. You guys got it. Yep, it's all recorded and posted back to YouTube. All right, SML, have a good day. Now this is I mean, arguably we'll still even see like, you know, something else I'm just kind of considering in the back of my mind. It's let me think, because it was daily and those some meat. I mean, this still even has the opportunity to sell down into here today. I mean, again, you know, let's go check on the Nasdaq here. Oh yeah, not to mention, you know, this is all weekly stuff. So again, we've used the weekly support. We've run up a bounce. It's already, you know, kind of weak, whatever. All good. You know, we're not putting extreme emphasis on it again because, I mean, we are, but you know, we're in a downtrend, right? So the market's in a selling operation. So if you think of it like this, right? So think about the entire market going down, right? We know that we're in a bearish selling move, but amongst being in the bearish selling move, the green level here is where we decided that we should at least look for a long. And ironically enough, what does your chart now provide? It provides 2 green candles there. Not that it was huge, but you know, after the market cap on the SPY decreases $11 billion, we come in and say there should be some opportunity for bounce here. And then it prints 2 green candles and raises the market $2.4 billion in market cap, at least for a short period of time. So our support was a part of helping create these 2 green prints on your candle, or prints on your screen, at least on this 30-minute at least, whether you're looking at a 15-minute, right? So it's cool stuff, man. It's fun. It's pretty cool stuff. I like it. Side note, this is a pretty big over-under right here. I know, again, most people are not going to follow this. You know, most people are not watching that. So, again, this is a big over-under. So, we'll have resolution by next week, most likely. See where Bitcoin's doing. Bitcoin is just basically down into our levels, no big deal. That's the other thing too, is another good way of saying it is, this is where the weekly higher low development would be on Bitcoin. So if it fails the weekly higher low development, then the longs are going to get roasted and we're just going to get cooked again. So that's kind of another thing to take into context, is whenever we're talking about a weekly support, generally speaking, we're talking about the expectation of a weekly. Yeah, if we're talking weekly support, it's where we expect the weekly chart to develop a higher low. If it doesn't develop a higher low there, it means that the weekly chart failed its higher low development and the opposite is down, right? Which obviously sounds kind of dumb. It's like, well, obviously if it doesn't go up, it goes down, right? Duh. But concept is really the key takeaway is, if you were building a staircase and you knew where to expect the next tread or staircase, or sorry, not staircase, but stair to be built, but then all of a sudden it doesn't get built, it raises the question, like, why did we stop building the staircase? Is the staircase going to cliff? Are we going to fall? Or is this where we walked up a staircase and now we're going to try to create a staircase down? Maybe not the best way of explaining that, but you get the point. Hopefully. So again, on Bitcoin, this is theoretically where you'd look for a weekly kind of support staircase to get built. If it doesn't, that means you're just walking off a no stair to step on, right? So that's it. You lose the next step to step onto. So yeah, I mean, stocks are still getting cooked. Tesla. Yeah. I mean, everything's just straight cooked. You get in. What is this? Oh, that's a 20-year yields. Oh, so let's see. They're going to start reducing rates. Also, that raises another question. So basically, the rates are falling. I'm kind of late to telling you guys this, but again, here you go. So you can see rates on the long term. So this is the 20-year yield, or wait, is this the 2-year? Sorry, this is the 2-year. Yeah, sorry, my bad. So this is the 2-year yield here. Again, you can see back here we went into a downtrend. That was a zero interest rate, whatever. We went back into an uptrend here. This is when we kind of went through our Fed hiking cycle. The Feds have been hinting for a while about cutting rates. So the market is pre-planning for the rate cuts to come. So remember, the markets are forward thinking always. So since we're expected to cut rates, the market is already pricing in lower rates. Hence, you can see the downtrend starting here on the 2-year yield. We have flipped the weekly negative. As a result, you're seeing something like TLT increase, right? So TLT bond prices are increasing because the older issued bonds have a higher rate or higher yield or higher return than what is expected to hit the market next. Let me explain. If I said, hey guys, you want to buy this. This is a bond, right? You want to buy this and I'll give you a 5% return, right? So you're like, okay, I'll buy it, right? So you take this 5% return, right? But then next week, I'm like, hey, you want this new sunglass bond at a 4% return? That's all I'm offering. Well, you're going to go, well, what about the one you just gave us at 5? You can still go get the 5, but now you're going to have to pay a premium because this is offering 5 and this is offering 4. It's the inverse relationship, all right? So bonds and yields have an inverse relationship. When bond prices go up, existing bond prices fall. Because if you were giving me bonds at 3%, why would I buy those when I could just buy the new ones coming out next week at 5%? You wouldn't buy the 3%. You'd buy the 5%, right? Hence, 3% bond prices go down, okay? So there's an inverse relationship. So the thought here is that the Feds are going to cut rates. They're going to cut rates. Some older existing bond prices should go up. So that's why you're kind of seeing a change in the TLT here. So basically, when you look at something like this, and I'm not the bond master, but again, some of the stuff's pretty straightforward. Again, you got the bond yields increasing. So bond yields go up, and then you go take a peek, whatever, look at like something like TLT. TLT, what happened over the past year? Got roasted. So as they raise the rates, bond prices get yanked, right? Now they're going to cut rates, bond prices pop. So arguably, you could look at maybe some diversification into TLT here and, look for some upside as they start to reduce rates. Part of the problem, though, is markets are somewhat forward thinking. So one might look at the 2-year and look at some of the yields and go, well, they said they're going to cut rates, but they haven't, right? So, but look at where the yields are already at, 3.65, right? So it's like the market is already adjusting for what's to come, right? So we would almost need them to cut further than maybe what the current expectations are for this to be then priced lower, and then also provide what I would kind of entail as easier future returns on appreciation of TLT. All right, so basically, this is, so again, like this is where we're getting right into the diciness, right? Basically what I mean is which it kind of looks like it might, right? If this weekly chart fails to hold the higher low here, then it's just back to lows or lower, right? So again, if we fail holding kind of support into next week, maybe the next 2 weeks on Bitcoin, I would say week to 2 weeks, meaning this thing just might dump out. They might hold it for a week, maybe 2 weeks in a lucky event. If not, you're basically going to go back. You're going to retest this $49,000 low. And then obviously if we take that low out, every single major Twitter account will say, oh my God, Bitcoin. And then it's going to get swiped. And then we're going to roast it down to about 40,000, 38,000. And then we're probably going to hit a Rippy Magoo. So you should basically be positioned or in the expectation that we can still run all the way down to about 38,000. Keep some powder dry so that if you do hit 38,000, you can buy that, all right? Let me rephrase that. I got to get better at my phrasing. 38,000 is a valuable area. That's it. Anyways, also want to thank you guys for tuning in on the stream today. It's been an absolute blast. It's been fun. I've always enjoyed streaming. Maybe that's my charismatic nature and my beautiful, beautiful face. I don't know. But yeah, I've always enjoyed streaming. Kind of happy they're working again. Again, don't really know what happened. It sounds like someone flipped the switch, started allowing the streams to work again. Again, I don't control the streams at these days, day and age. I click stream. If the internet allows me to be online, they take me out of timeout, then I'll be here. When they put me in timeout, I can't be here. So again, controllers of the internet, whatever you did, kind of appreciate it, but don't appreciate the long timeout you put me in. Also, this again, remember, I don't even want to say anything. I've said it so many times, I feel like I'm just like, you know, boring you guys to death. But my gut, I mean, like, gut says we still got more down to come, but I still got to follow the rules, you know? So it's like, until we start breaching this weekly and it kind of shows face, you know, it's kind of like, all right, but yeah. Yeah, they slipped that guy pretty good. Well, let's also take a peek here. Yeah, it's probably a little too soon for me to say that, so I probably just avoid that. But what's kind of crazy though, but what I gotta say, you know, I'll just draw a picture on the screen. So basically, if we're all lucky, what I mean by all lucky means the market stops going down, even the slightest. I don't really see it, to be honest, but I've been wrong before. Again, you know, where we just bottom. So this little bottom, that little blip in time, which doesn't look like it's gonna do all that great. I feel like it's just gonna get roasted sooner than later, but yeah. I was going to try and do something fancy. It's kind of no point, but ultimately, you know, as long as we don't break down, we do have a slight opportunity of putting in basically a green, maybe printing a green candle next week. That's about it. That's all I'm going to say. You know, so you do have the opportunity, gradient background, to print potentially a green candle here into next week, but I think it's getting a little slim there. Little slim daddy. The roll just looks too strong. I don't know, something just doesn't sit right with that. But normally speaking, that's what we would look for. But again, the reason I'm not as in line with it is because we're coming off of a lower high roll. So you can see we were down, lower high rolling into support. That makes it a little less likely. Versus, you know, something like back here where markets are kind of higher low, higher high still, right? Now we have a lower high. So that's where when you get lower highs, you're more likely to take out the higher low expectation levels. So remember just a little bit ago how we were kind of talking about higher low expectation levels where you can kind of expect to build the staircase. When you have a lower high in development, you're more likely to take out the higher low development locations, right? So we'll just say we're iffy. We're iffy on that one. Like, you know, if we had been on a YouTube stream, you know, back here, this was, I was going to say, this was the last big, So for me, this was like the last bigger add to the portfolio. No, that's not even true because it wasn't that major, but you know, I was gonna say that's kind of one of the bigger ads as far as where I thought would be valuable. So when we had the was it 2000 whatever 23 downtrend, then we look at ready. So then we flip into an uptrend. That's this low right there is where I really added back in and felt comfortable that the market had kind of transitioned and we would go into a long run. So that's where I had kind of suggested to our private chat, this is where you're looking to kind of redevelop portfolio stuff back long. Now we have blipped, one pull, correction, double top. Right? If you look at the NASDAQ, right, the NASDAQ was below, bearish, bullish, flag, dip, pull, dip, correction, lower high. So again, we're not out of the water yet. And then also, what month is it? It's September. Where are we headed to next? October, right? As we're coming into the more volatile points of the year, you know. So again, the setups are there, so on and so forth. Buy order still in at 470. Wait a second. Let me take a look at VU. Or wait. 470. Oh, my neck. Yeah, so actually to answer your question, I remember you talking about the other day, talking about VU. So like where would a good time to have added long VU been? Like right in here. Maybe there, right? Because you are downtrend and then trying to reverse the weekly into a longer term uptrend. And then this would have been a good spot because it's kind of like the back test of the transition, right? So, you know, when we're looking at 470 here, I mean, arguably it's good for like double bottom support as far as price action. But when we think about when the uptrend started, uptrend started back here on VU. And then the back test of the uptrend started here on VU, right? Nothing you can do. Best thing you can do is stay invested, buy dips, you know. That's basically it. Can't predict everything, can't be perfect, you know, it just is what it is. Obviously can't be perfect. Come on, Bitcoin, don't do us dirty. Don't just shit the bed yet. Throw it for one little grippy. So wait, I gotta go to dinner early at 4. I think it's close to 4:50. Yeah. You are back. It has been a great day. Obviously, we know that. VIX still below 23 with this flush. Um, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I don't really put too much emphasis on like. For me, I wouldn't really put too much emphasis on like the market's down. Like, why isn't the VIX higher? Like, I mean, I guess we do, but I mean, if I'm looking at my stuff, first looking at statistical probabilities, so I know that. And we can go higher than that. We can always go higher than +3, +4, and all those things. But it's like when I look at the statistics, it's like right now there's good cause for VIX to be having resistance as we near kind of higher statistical probability levels of resistance. So that's one thing about regression analysis, right? For example, you might be looking at it going, I don't understand, the market's down and the VIX isn't high enough. And I'm going, well, I mean, we're kind of in overbought statistical resistance. Like, it kind of makes sense. It's bumping its head, right? That's a normal distribution pattern, right? And that would be a perfect example of why we watch regression analysis, so that we can add perspective to price value, right? Because statistics gives you information outside of things like, well, the market's going down, why isn't this higher? It's like, I mean, it could go higher. Statistically speaking, the volatility market is definitely overbought as far as regression goes. And regression analysis gives you, yeah, I was gonna say, it gives you kind of like another reasoning, or well, also, again, if things are normally distributed, then that means nothing's supposed to, like, in the world, like real world examples, most things don't exist outside of +3 or -3 standard deviation, right? Nothing really ever exists outside of -4 standard deviation. That's on a normal distribution pattern. Again, the best examples I always go back to giving is like, you go walk outside right now, you're not going to see many people that are midgets, right? Very, very, very short. Nor are you going to see many people that are 9 foot tall, if any, right? Because it just doesn't, it's too far outside of the normal distributive pattern that you should expect to commonly see someone who's 3 foot tall, full grown, right? Full age, right? Adult, 3 foot tall. Nor should you go outside and expect to see someone who's 9 foot tall, child, or adult. And in the event you do, it's rare, not your typical environment. So when I look at the VIX, and yes, the market's down and all these things, I go, well, I mean, it did trade all the way up to close to +3, so we are getting to those normally rare occurrences, right? So it's like, should it really be at 30? Should it be at 40? It could get there, but at that point, I am walking out and I'm seeing somebody who's 9 foot tall. Yes, I can run into him. Not very likely. So my expectations and my perception of the market is to not go and go, well, the market's down, we should be at 40, right? No, I shouldn't be seeing someone who's 9 foot tall. Now, it could happen. When it does happen, we'll analyze that, we'll take it for what it is, and we'll go with it. But until then, I'm expecting to see people who are 5'5", 5'8", 6'1", 6'2", etc. Hence, being where that's at. That really actually helped me explain the kind of standard deviation concept the way I wanted to earlier when someone asked. That was a little better. Right? How often have you seen somebody walking out in public that was that big since? Probably like maybe once, if ever, right? So you met your +3 standard deviation, how long ago at AT&T, right? Well, then again, if you were going and seeing a basketball game, obviously it would make sense. But if you saw him just out in public randomly, it's like you just met your 3 standard deviation event and probably haven't seen him since. Nor someone that big. $205. It looks like the market's still just kind of crapping out. Obviously, not a surprise. Marriage is good. Can't complain. Things are going well. Oh, you saw him again 3 years later. Okay, I'm an idiot. I don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. You're better off tuning. Honestly, better off tuning into CNBC. I think. I'm just messing. Let's chat life. Life is good. Life is good. I think I'm relatively healthier than I've ever been. I feel like I'm finally starting to sleep a little bit. Usually never slept well, so kind of sleeping good. I'm going to Thailand in October. No kids yet. Probably going to start popping out, trying to some spring chickens here in the next couple of years. Yeah. You know, and the other thought too is like a lot of people are thinking that when they there's a lot of discussion right now about like, you know, when they cut rates too, that stocks are going to boost up even more. There has been historical patterns that suggest when they cut stocks, the economy's been broken and they've broken something, and then things actually goes down from there. Which again, a lot of people are thinking, well, if they cut rates, like people are gonna flee back into stocks. It's more like stocks have already gotten juiced, right? And if they cut rates, older bond prices might increase, so there actually might be a flight out of risk asset or risk on securities like stocks and back into bonds that are expected to increase in value due to the expectation of rate cuts. So that's another thing that there's plenty of people talking about. Again, I'm not the most professional on that topic, but over the next few years, I'll become even smarter in that area, I'm sure. But, that's another thing to consider, right? The market has been extremely risk on stocks, right? So, they offered 5% yields, right? So arguably some money moved there. Risk stocks went up, right? Now they're going to start decreasing yields, cutting rates. Older bond prices paying a higher yield are going to juice. So smart money's kind of moved some capital there. Hence, you saw what? Warren Buffett, what'd he do? He bought a bunch of treasuries and a bunch of bonds. Biggest holdings in treasuries ever. Lowest in securities. Because as the Fed starts to cut rates, older bond prices increase in value. So he's got a lot of money parked, earning free interest, and the expectation they're going to increase in value due to the issuance of newer, lower yields. Money is always chasing return, risk on, risk off. Yep. That being said, just because they cut rates doesn't mean things are about to be rosy. Again, if you ask me, things are probably going to get shittier. Again, bear market, lower performance, 2026 to 2032. It's fun saying that because it's so easy to say that. And then just be like, oh, well. But again, hey, the chart on Google said so we gotta believe it, eh? We gotta believe it. And then, like, another thing, too, it's like we've watched so many of these, like, economic data clawbacks. Like, oh, it's good, but then it's not good. It's like, how did the government, like, provide jobs numbers and then, like, revise it a couple weeks, whatever, back? It's like, actually, we were off by 1 million. It's like, oh, sick. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate that. It's almost like, what's the point of reading the data if we could just have to get the truth later, So this has been fun. It's been good. It's good stuff. Good. Yeah. Let's get back into something here. I don't know. But yeah, I was just saying I'm feeling pretty healthy. I'm eating a lot better than I have been in a while, so I'm feeling good about that. Rental properties are doing pretty good. Can't complain about that. The cash on cash return is pretty solid on one. Trying to increase the cash on cash return on the next one, so that's good. Where I'm sitting right now should be a rental within a fairly decent amount of time, so that's good. YouTube streams are kind of working again, so that's good. Well, what's up, Mike? My hairline's getting worse, so that is not good. That is bad. That is no bueno. Our market predictions and forecasts are getting far more accurate, so that's good. That's good. Our new website was built, so that's good. Soon to have a financial dictionary on the website that is very similar to that of Investopedia, so we'll cover pretty much every single financial topic, like basically known to man, on our website. So that's good. That's very good. I learned how to put some basic news APIs onto our site, so that was good. Hopefully one day we can provide some stock scanning capability and live option flow data, all that good stuff on our website. That will be good, but until then, that hasn't happened. Bitcoin's about to get cooked, so that's not good. That's bad. That no good. Let's go, Mike. Glad to hear it, brother. Glad to hear it. So yeah, I really wanted to jump on, kind of cover what we were seeing in the markets again. Just go over that. As we said, oh boy, as we said before, we're still in a selling operation. Yeah, I mean, by the looks of it, we're going to be in a selling operation for quite some time. Just based on the way this is looking and feeling, it just has the longer extended selling operation to it, personally. We'll have some bounces in there. We're going to have some short-term changes, but right now the operation is strong to the downside. I see it being an extended selling operation. This is the way I see it. I mean, heck, just yesterday, like, hey, we see the market on the QQQ down to 448 and some change. Here we are, 449. We did that, right? We even talked about, when we say we talked about, I mean, these are kind of the projections, right? We're talking about the SPY going down to 533.82. Still see that. So, when you wake up tomorrow, well, on Monday, right? It's maybe doesn't happen by Monday. I don't make those things up, but we got down to 5. What did it say? 5. We have down to here, right? This box down here. I'll change that to red. Like we even have down to here, right? So unless this thing just picks up support and creates a bottom bounce, right? I mean, heck, we can even see down to 533 before the weekly chart on the SPY even tries to hold a bounce, right? Yeah, so we still got some things to the downside there that we're tracking. It looks like they might extend it. And that's kind of the other thing too. It's like, obviously the further you get away from the start of the selling operation, it's always kind of like, well, it's kind of oversold. You'd think they're going to bounce it, but usually bounces come off of support zones, right? So obviously we came into one here, right? We started bouncing it. Might be a little too soon. We might have to give it till next week to see if the NASDAQ... Right now we're basically dealing with daily support and NASDAQ weekly support. If they don't give... Again, it was my expectation we're pretty much going to hold this low area for the remainder of the day, do nothing else, and then next week will be the deciding factor. For more downside or not. Or if they're going to start next week with a little bit of a long press. So I think by next week we kind of have more resolution or see whether or not they hold the long press to start the week. Daily bounce, or if we're just going to extend downside into weekly VWAP targets for the SPY, which are going to be like 55380s right now. Yep, Bitcoin wiped out. That hit our sell target. Now, again, we're kind of watching, arguably, for this to continue at this rate. Unless it recovers, that sounds kind of dumb, but I mean, yeah, we're getting kind of dicey here. I'm pretty much expecting we can even go down to this low here. It kind of depends. We have the weekend to wait, right? If this just runs away, so be it, but I think we're going to get some resolution by the end of next week. And since I don't know if you've been here with us for a hot minute or not, but also we're looking at Bitcoin down to, 38,000, 37,000, and then looking for kind of some long presses out of there. They might shake it around there, but ultimately we're looking for long developments down here. Again, this is a pretty, it's pretty obvious that short sellers got squeezed out here. So a lot of times what the market likes to do is go back to where the short sellers screwed themselves over and then ramp it back up again. So we're kind of looking at like everyone that got short here. What was that? And again, I'm not trying to be like an asshole here, but there was a guy, there's some dude on Twitter, was his name Max or I don't know. He had a man bun at one point, which is totally fine. But I remember that was someone specifically I can remember. There's like, I'm shorting here, and then he kept shorting, whatever, right? So it's like just based off of, that one person, I know he was shorting all in this area, right? So again, blow up shorts, run it back down to where all the shorts got blown out. So it's like they get blown up, and then they watch the short going like, damn it. And then we blow it back up. That's pretty common at times. So, what would be funny is if this exact picture happens. So someone should take a picture of that and post it somewhere, just so we can come back and then giggle if it actually happens like that, because that would be pretty comical. Now, this has been a part of our analysis for a long time. You're starting to see more of this analysis on Twitter and mainstream kind of sources. When I start to see that, I do get a little skeptical about it because I don't like a lot of people to have the same ideas as me. When I start to see the same ideas that I have, I get a little skeptical on how well or how accurate that might be. There hasn't been too much talk of this scenario, but it's getting more relevant recently. There's some bigger accounts with some really big followers on Twitter that are starting to mention that. That always makes it a little more skeptical of it playing out like that. So again, if we start to see too much of this, again, scenario, more or less what I just did, this one, if we start seeing too much of that, then it would lead me to believe that this ends up breaking or we end up shying. Right? There's too many people focused on here. We're either going to shy or we're going to go below. Right? So we'll see how things develop. All right, about 2:30 here. Probably just going to call it here for the day. It's already been a pretty solid day as far as streaming goes there. I have a dinner thing to get to around 4:30 something, 4:40, and it's about a 35-minute drive, so gonna go snack on some stuff. Probably shit post on Twitter a little bit, because what else do I got better to do with my life? And we'll catch you guys back. Again, if you guys are more interested in kind of live trading stuff, that is provided in our chat. There is a link in the description. No pressure. You want to check it out, feel free. And I will catch you guys back on the next stream. My business partner, Brandon, is going to be going into surgery for cancer. That's another thing, too, is my business partner, Brandon, he has surgery coming up for cancer, so pretty big surgery, pretty important. So he is going to be kind of on the sidelines for a little bit during recovery. During that time period, you won't expect me to be doing streams here. It'll all be in the private stuff, as I'm kind of managing that side of things for a little bit while he's, in recovery. So that is going to be taking place here like next week, I think, actually. So actually I probably won't be streaming like all next week. So yeah, probably don't expect me to be online a whole lot coming up here on YouTube. I will have to be, yeah, in there. Sorry, I'm kind of getting dates mixed up in my head. So just an FYI. But anyways, I will catch you guys back next time I'm available. But again, I am trying to get back to more of a consistent streaming thing here. So again, when Brandon's up and healthy and everything's good and we kind of get some more organization down there about how we're going to manage kind of both sides of things, then I'll probably be here more actively with you guys. But anyways, everyone take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll catch you guys back. Again, I have no clue. Love you. Take care. Bless your hearts.